Help me to reach 2,000 subscribers. The ultrasound discovery. I remember the hum of the fluorescent lights in the clinic. The nurse had just handed me the small envelope with my baby's first ultrasound photo inside. My hands trembled, not out of fear, but out of the kind of joy that makes your body forget how to move properly. It was supposed to be the happiest moment of my life. I planned to surprise Daniel that evening. He'd been distant lately, but I told myself it was just work. Deadlines, late nights, the stress of providing for our growing family. Still, in my heart, I wanted to remind him of what we were building together. So I went home early, printed out a card that said, "Daddy's first glimpse," and slipped my ultrasound into it. I even bought his favorite dinner. It was perfect, until it wasn't. When he walked in, he looked startled to see me home early. His tie was loosened, his eyes tired, and for a moment, there was something almost guilty in his expression. But I brushed it off. I wanted that night to be about love, not suspicion. We hugged, briefly. His cologne smelled faintly different, stronger, unfamiliar. I reached for his jacket to hang it up. It slipped from my hand and hit the floor. The contents of his wallet spilled out across the hardwood. I crouched down to pick them up, smiling. You'd lose your head if it wasn't attached. That's when I saw it. 2 ultrasound photos lay on the floor. Mine, labeled Baby Johnson 12 weeks, and another with a name I didn't recognize. Emily R. At first, I thought it was some clerical mistake, maybe something from a coworker he was helping. But then, beneath the second photo, I saw a folded note. My fingers shook as I opened it. Can't wait for our little secret to arrive. The handwriting was soft, feminine, and signed with a small heart. For a moment, the world muted. I couldn't hear the TV, the cars outside, or even my own heartbeat. Just a ringing, high and hollow, like the aftermath of an explosion. I turned toward him slowly. Who's Emily? His face went pale. What? I held up the note. Emily, and your little secret. He froze like a man caught between fight and flight. Then, after a long silence, he said, "It's not what you think. Every liar says that." I felt my chest tighten. Then tell me what it is. Because it looks like my husband has another baby on the way. He rubbed his temples. I didn't mean for you to find that. That's your explanation? My voice cracked. You weren't going to tell me you're having another child with someone else? He tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. My heart was pounding, but beneath the pain, there was a strange, cold clarity. How long? I whispered. About a year, he said, voice low, ashamed. It just happened, like tripping and falling into another woman's bed. I sank onto the couch, the ultrasound photo still in my hand. My baby, our baby, felt suddenly like a stranger. I looked down at the little swirl of gray on the screen, the beginning of a heartbeat, and wondered how a man could create life twice and still be so empty. Do you love her? I asked. He hesitated. That hesitation was my answer. Something in me broke quietly, like a thread snapping inside my chest. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. The silence was heavier than any shouting could be. He knelt down beside me. I made a mistake. I didn't mean for it to go this far. She doesn't mean anything compared to you. Then why does she have your baby? He didn't answer. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay beside him, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sound of his breathing. I wanted to believe that love could forgive anything, that the man beside me was still the one I fell in love with. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw her name, Emily Erda, etched behind my eyelids like a brand. Days passed in a fog. Couldn't eat. Couldn't look at him without feeling something bitter rise in my throat. Every smile, every kiss, every late night suddenly rearranged itself in my memory, revealing the lies hiding beneath. One evening, as he showered, I opened his phone. I'd never done that before. My hands shook as I scrolled through the messages. There she was. How's my favorite dad-to-be? One read. Can't wait to see you after your meeting. I dropped the phone as if it burned me. It wasn't just an affair. It was a second life. The next morning, I packed a small bag and left. I didn't tell him where I was going. I drove to my mother's house 2 towns away, where everything smelled like old books and lavender soap. I sat on her couch, the ultrasound photo clutched in my hand, and finally let myself cry. He called dozens of times. I didn't answer. A week later, he showed up at the door. His eyes were bloodshot, his face hollow. "Please," he said, "let me explain." "Explain?" I laughed through the tears. "You lied to me, Daniel. You were going to let me raise your child while another woman carried yours." He sank onto the steps, hands clasped. "She told me she couldn't have kids. When she found out she was pregnant, I panicked. I didn't want to lose you. So you kept both of us?" I said bitterly. "Like trophies." He looked up at me then, and for a fleeting second, I saw regret, real gut-deep regret. But regret doesn't undo betrayal. "I'll sign whatever you need," he whispered. "Just please don't take my baby away." I stared at him for a long moment. Then I reached into my pocket and pulled out my ultrasound photo. I handed it to him. "You already did." He opened his mouth, but no words came. I closed the door before he could try. Months later, when my son was born, I looked into his eyes and saw only my strength reflected back at me. Daniel tried to call again, to apologize, to beg for forgiveness. But I never answered. The last time I saw him was in a supermarket parking lot. He was holding a baby carrier. His other baby. The woman beside him, Emily, I assumed, looked tired, uncertain. He caught my eye. For a moment we just stared at each other. Then he smiled, small, almost sad, and turned away. As I drove home, my son asleep in the back seat, I felt the ache of everything I'd lost. But beneath it, a quiet peace began to bloom. I had discovered more than betrayal that day. I had discovered myself. And that was something no one could ever take away.